Oh, hey guys! I didn't see you there through my amazing Minecraft sunglasses, which I'll just quickly place into my Minecraft backpack with my Enderman. Really sorry about that, guys. They told me if I did this product placement, I could keep my job for another week. You know how it is. Anyway, today we're reviewing Boss Monster, which is one of my favorite games of all time. Like, I really love this game. Whenever I go back to my hometown and see my mates, we always play this game. It's a lot of fun. So basically, what is Boss Monster? Boss Monster is basically a dungeon building game with a difference, because in this game, you're the bad guy. No more good guys, no more doing the right thing. In this game, it pays to be despicable, it pays to be the bad guy, and the badder you are, the more you're going to win. So, how does it work? Basically, everybody starts off with a boss monster. So you take one of the boss cards, you shuffle these up, and everybody receives a boss. So we have two bosses here. We have Draculord, who is going to be my boss for this game, and we have my opponent, King Croak. Now, when you look at your boss cards, they have a couple of important bits of information. They have a level up ability, and they have an experience amount. Now, the experience amount is important because it decides the order of play. So in this game, I have 900 experience, King Croak has 800, so I would go first. Now, if there was a 3-player game, and we have Zizak, or however you pronounce that, and he has 750 experience, it doesn't matter how we're sitting around the table, I would go first, King Croak would go second, and Zizak would go third. So that's basically why the experience is important. The second thing is you have a level up ability. So basically, when you get 5 rooms in your dungeon for the first time, you level up. And so basically, my level up ability is target an opponent, reveal his or her hand to you, take one card and put it into your hand. So the first time I get 5 rooms in my dungeon, I'm able to activate that ability, which usually gives you something that's quite good. For instance, King Croak's ability is search the room, deck, or discard pile for an advanced monster room. You may build the room immediately. So it does give you a small advantage, and it does pay to help. So basically, these cards will go down on the table and form our dungeon. Now, what other elements are there to the game? There's also a hero deck. Now, the hero deck is made up of, firstly, normal heroes, which are worth 1 soul if you kill them, and they cost you 1 wound if they kill you. Now, there's also, as you get to the end of this pile, epic heroes. Epic heroes are much, much stronger. You can see, like here, we have Bowden the Pantless, who has 4 health, and we've got this epic hero here, which is Ceciloran Master Factorum, and he has 13 health. So epic heroes are much, much harder to kill, but they are worth twice as many points. And the thing I love about the hero cards is, like this one here, for instance, Bowden the Pantless. They have these really cool artwork, which you can see, and they have these really pointless but awesome backstories, which have nothing to do with the game, but are just so funny. So it says here, Bowden's courage is matched only by his forgetfulness. The quest to find his misplaced armor continues. So it has nothing to do with the story, but it's just hilarious, the time and the effort they put into making these little jokes and these funny stories for all these characters. Now, with the heroes as well, you will notice that down the bottom, they have a little symbol here. So you can see that this one has 4 little men, and this one here has 3 little men, and this one here has 2 little men. So basically, if you're playing a 2-player game, you use all the 2 little men and pull the 3 and the 4 out. And if you're playing a 3-player game, you obviously use the 2 and the 3. And if you're playing a 4-player game, you use everything. And that helps balance the game so that when you're playing a 2-player game, it's just as fun as if you're playing a 4-player game. We also have our room cards. These are what make up our dungeon. Now, there's a couple of important bits of information on the rooms as well. So down the bottom here, you have the room's damage. You also have the type of treasure that that room has. And if there's an ability for the room, it'll be written in here. So basically, this room here, which is the centipede tunnel, when you build this room, you may swap the placement of 2 rooms in anyone's dungeon. So you have to look out for those abilities, because they're normally what are going to win you the game more than the damage, because it's about messing with people, as I said at the start. So the last thing in the game is spell cards. Now, spell cards, again, they will do something. So you can see this one here. If you have fewer rooms than your opponent, you may build an extra room this turn. Now, some cards can be used during the build phase, such as this one, which you can see the logo down here. Some cards can be used during the battle phase, which is this logo here. And some cards can be used during any phase, which has got both the logos down the bottom there. So that's the spell card. So that's basically all the different elements of the game. So let's dive in and have a quick look, shall we? Okay, so here you can see my dungeon, and here is King Croak's dungeon. So the first thing we need to do is each player gets given 5 cards, 3 room cards, 2 spell cards, and from that they have to discard 2 cards. They can discard 2 spell cards, 2 room cards, 1 of each, doesn't matter. Once they've done that and each player is left with 3 cards, we haven't quite started yet. Before we actually start the game, each player builds a room face down in their dungeon. Both players reveal their room. Each player draws a room card, and now the game begins. So the game begins at the start of each turn. 2 heroes from town come to... 2 heroes from the pile come to town, and we now begin the bait phase. So when I said before about the heroes and the treasure being important, it's very important. At the moment, I have 2 books in my dungeon and 1 relic, and my opponent has 2 swords. So at the moment, because this hero is looking for weapons, he would actually be lured to this dungeon, and because this hero is looking for books, he would be lured to this dungeon. So what we can do now is, before the bait phase begins, each player gets to build a room face down. The reason you build it face down is because if you built it face up and your opponent could then see what you built and try to counter you. So basically, everybody builds their room face down. Now this room, when I built it last turn, I got to draw 2 spell cards and throw 1 out. So I've got my extra spell card. I am going to build my room face down. My opponent is going to build his room face down. Once all the players have built their rooms, we then reveal our cards and the bait phase begins. So he still has 3 weapons, so he would definitely lure this hero. And I still have 3 books, so I would lure that hero. Now we begin the battle phase. Now we've got to resolve in experience order. What that means is, the player with the most experience goes first. So I've got to go first. So basically, he's got 8 damage, this room does 2. So he's got 6 damage left. He then goes to this room and it takes 1 damage, so now he's got 5 damage left. And now, at this point, he would kill me and I would take a wound and lose 1 life. And if I lose 4 more lives, I would be out. However, I'm going to play my spell card Cave In. And what that does, it says destroy a room in the dungeon, kill any hero in that room. So I'm going to destroy that room. Now, this card here says once per turn, when you play a spell card, you draw a spell card. So I've drawn my spell card, I've killed this hero. So instead of losing a life, now I take a soul, but at the cost of a room. So basically, that goes on there. Now it's this hero's turn. So he does 4 damage, and this room here does no damage, but it says the first time a hero comes to this room, they go back to the previous room. So it does 8 damage. However, because I know that's going to happen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mess with my opponent, and I'm going to play the assassin card, which basically gives any hero that this card is attached to plus 3 damage until the end of the turn. Now you've got to play this before the turn starts, but I wanted to show you that and then go through what's going to happen. So he goes here, takes 4 damage, goes here, takes no damage, goes here, takes 4 damage, but he's still got 3 health, so he actually takes a wound. So if no magic cards had been played that turn, the game would have looked a little bit differently, and it would have looked like this. He would have got a soul, and I would have got a wound. However, because of the magic cards, I now have a soul, and he now has a wound. And basically, magic cards, more than anything, are going to win you this game because they really let you mess with the opponents and let you do things in the game to manipulate the game. So basically, the game will continue on like that until one player either has 5 wounds, therefore knocking them out, or 10 souls, therefore winning them the game. And it's a really simple game to pick up. It's not very hard to play. It's quite easy to learn. There is a little bit of reading involved. I would recommend probably 10 plus so that they're confident in reading, because obviously the abilities and the spells are what really makes the game fun and allows you to mess with your opponents. You do not want to play with me. I am quite despicable and I will always mess with your dungeon. That's my favourite way to win. So if you want to learn some tips and tricks, maybe come and see me in the shop and I'll tell you some of my favourite strategies. If you do want to buy Boss Monster, you can pop down to our store at Kenmore in Brisbane and see one of our staff and you can pick up a copy. Otherwise, if you live around Australia, just follow one of our social links, send us an inbox, and we do ship Australia-wide for $6.90. There's also Boss Monster 2, which we may do a review of down the track. But the great thing about these guys here is, unlike a lot of games where this is just an expansion and you need to buy this before you can buy this, both of these games are standalone games. However, you can join them together to make one huge game with lots and lots of cards. So the guys at Brotherwise Games have done a really, really good job with this game, being that it's one of the only games I've seen where you've got 2 standalone games or 1 complete game together. So this in itself is really, really fun. I've only just picked this up a couple of weeks ago, and I'm still learning because there's a lot of new elements in this. But to be able to join these together would be absolutely amazing. If you enjoyed this review, make sure you give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate your feedback. Also, don't forget to click the subscribe button down the bottom to see more great videos like this. If you have any questions about Boss Monster, or if there's a particular board game you want to see reviewed, pop it in the comments section below and let us know. Next week we'll be reviewing a board game called Dixit, so I look forward to that, and we'll see you then. See you later, guys.